London is one of the largest metropolitan areas in the world, with one of the most iconic transit solutions in history, the London Underground. So how come the city with the London Underground also has trams? Well, that's more of a story about trains, and I'd point you to Jago Hazard's channel to learn about the oddities of the London Underground. But all you need to know is that it's because of geology and a bunch of other reasons we don't have time to go into. Now, what is it like, the seventh time or something? London had trams before this network in the early 20th century, but they were ripped up and removed during the interwar period, then entirely removed after the Second World War, in the preamble to mass vehicle ownership in the 1960s. And if you want a tad bit more about trams in general in London, go watch this video from Jay Foreman. But in context to Tramlink, I still think that Metrolink is a better name by the way, its inception was rather mundane compared to other systems. The first idea of creating a new tramway was first brought forward in the 1960s when the mayor suggested the idea of running a line from East Croydon to New Addington, a new estate being constructed just south of Croydon Central. And soon after, British Rail, also in a private study, demonstrated the relative ease of converting the line to Wimbledon to accommodate trams as well. Both these proposals were then combined to create a system that would run between Central Croydon, Wimbledon, New Addington and Beckham Junction. Though, much like the other networks across the country at the time, it would have to wait for the public mood to change, and while the plans had been more or less completed quite early, they were left dominant for around 30-40 years, until momentum started to gain in the 1990s, when the Croydon Council accepted the plans in principle, who then worked along with London Transport to propose plans to Parliament which resulted in London Transport being given required powers to build and operate the network. Then, much like in Nottingham, consortiums of companies were then allowed to bid for the planning, construction and operation of the network, of which the big names in transport bid for until Tramtrack Croydon Consortium was chosen, with the Tramtrack Croydon Consortium, that is a mouthful, being made up Central West, the Royal Bank of Scotland, Sir Robert Alpine, Amy and Bombardier Transportation. Soon after, the consortium got to work on the lines and began construction in 1997. And just 3 years later, all the different lines of the network would all open in phases during May 2000. The rolling stock on the network currently consists of 23 Bombardier CR 4000s and 12 Vario bands. The Bombardier CR4000s are part of the Flight City Swift family of trams, which can also be found on Manchester's Metrolink in the form of the more recent M5000 trams. The Vario bands are the newer trams on the network and are from Stadler. The system then continued its operations under the Tramtrack Croydon Consortium from 2000 up until around 2008, when it was bought out by TfL. Transport for London to be clear, who continue to operate Tramlink presently, with average journeys being around 30 million on the network, not including the 2021 financial year, showing the successes of the network, though like most tram networks in the UK, bar a few, the operation of the network has, as of yet, not been profitable. So what's next for Tramlink? Well, while several proposals have been forwarded over the recent years, the only one that was being sought was the extension of the network from the terminus at Wimbledon or from Colliers Wood to Sutton, though this has now been shelved thanks to the financial pressures of the COVID-19 pandemic, among with other issues, meaning that the extension isn't likely to see the light of day for at least a few years. Tramlink's network is a bit of an oddity in a city in which urban transit was effectively born, but again proves the feasibility of applying trams to different types of urban areas, with high enough populations to warrant them, and again shows how trams have been reintroduced successfully in the UK. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.